I'm Jason Ernst. I'm faculty at UCLA, and my research is in the area of computational biology. I guess in terms of career path, I was sort of always interested in research. I did my undergraduate work. I was studying computer science and math at the University of Maryland. And then I went to graduate school at Carnegie Mellon University thinking I work in machine learning. And then at that time, when I was sort of looking for an area to focus in on my thesis research, there was a new faculty who was applying a lot of machine learning to biology. And this was sort of soon after the Human Genome Project. So there was a lot of excitement in that space of the opportunities for computer science and machine learning to impact biology with all the new genomic data. So I figured it would be sort of a good opportunity. So I did my PhD work sort of focusing on applying machine learning to problems in biology. And then after my graduate work, I did a postdoc at MIT where I sort of went further into the field. And then that sort of led to a faculty position, being a professor at UCLA. The types of problems we work on are trying to understand the genome. The human genome, for example, is 3 billion bases, and only about 1% codes for proteins. So there's this vast majority of the genome which doesn't code for proteins, which is less well understood, but is also can be very important to disease. So a lot of genetic variation associated with disease falls in these regions. So there's a lot of interest in understanding these parts of the genome, and a lot of it's involved in regulating genes. So my work, a lot of it has to do with methods to interpret the non-coding genome and looking at a type of data called epigenomic data, which looks at chemical markers on top of the DNA or the proteins around which the DNA is packaged. A lot of it, it's sort of developing and applying machine learning methods to take advantage of a lot of the high throughput biological data that's emerging. More specifically, for example, one project was looking at comparing sort of human and mouse at this epigenomic level where there might be thousands of data sets collected in human mapping different chemical markers in different cell and tissue types, and similarly in mouse, which is a model organism for a lot of human research. And you'd like to be able to say if this human region in some sense is similar to this mouse region. And traditionally, there's sort of systematic ways to do this at the sequence level. But here we came up with a computational strategy which could sort of score this at this epigenomic level by integrating information from lots of different data sets from human and mouse. And it's based on a machine learning that automatically finds the sort of relevant patterns to classify if two regions have evidence of this conservation across species. We have other ongoing work. For example, we do a lot of work trying to understand whole genome sequencing data, particularly like rare non-coding variation. We're looking right now at psychiatric disorders, for example. The field that I work in, I mean, it's inherently interdisciplinary. When you have this large biological data sets, it needs both like the computational researchers who are familiar with like the computer science, the statistics, approaches to best analyze the data, and then also the experimental researchers who are generating the data and often help sort of focus some of the biological questions. So in a typical day, I usually meet with a few of my graduate students. There might be a research seminar I attend. I might spend some time working on a manuscript we have, like going over a draft a student has sent me. I might spend time reviewing a paper. I might be having meetings with other faculty, like on a committee. And I might also have like sort of collaboration calls with colleagues outside the university, and then also a lot of emails. When I started, what was potentially the biggest surprise was how much impact I could have to biologists sort of knowing so little biology at the time, because I actually hadn't taken biology since high school when I started in this field as a graduate student. But then it turned out like my first project was already having a large audience among biologist. So that was sort of the biggest surprise initially. Later on, also sort of a similar thing when I was faculty, I was hired as my primary appointment into a biology type department, even though my sort of whole training wasn't through biology departments. I'd say like the most rewarding part is when you see like the impact of your research having. So, I mean, what could start with like an idea you're working on yourself or with a few collaborators, and then you start seeing it being used by like hundreds of researchers who are studying a wide range of diseases and biomedical research problems. So that type of impact can be quite gratifying. I mean, the most challenging aspect is juggling everything that's going on. As like a faculty, you need to do a lot of different types of roles. So you're spending time teaching, you're spending time writing grants, mentoring students, writing papers, coming up with research, and then giving talks. You're spending time reviewing. And I mean, there's many tasks. So I think sort of the most challenging aspect is just sort of keeping up with everything that one needs to be able to do. The technical skills, I mean, so if you're working specifically like on the computational side, then you would need sort of having strong like computer science, statistics, math background is important. And then, I mean, if you're working in a sort of this interdisciplinary field, having some knowledge of the field you're applying your problems to, the ability to recognize like what problems are important to work on and to be able to effectively interact with. In terms of, I guess, sort of the soft skills, I mean, it's important to be able to write effectively and present effectively when you're working with this highly collaborative field, also just having the interpersonal skills as well. So, I mean, I think there's an overall shift of this field in sort of the direction of like genomics to have more and more of an impact on health. And I mean, some of this you sort of hear now with people using like the terms precision medicine, where like there's more personalized healthcare to individuals based on genomic profiling. So I think as we have a better understanding of the genome, which still requires a lot of more basic work, I think that provides the foundation for sort of more that translation to healthcare. And I mean, I think also in general, the accumulation of large data sets from, I mean, there's new assays that continue to be developed that allow us to probe biological systems in ways we haven't been able to before at larger scales. And each of these sort of new assays often leads to new computational challenges and opportunities. Then in like genetic space, what's sort of having a large impact is also sort of this move to large scale biobanks where they collect genetic data on large cohorts of individuals and then phenotype them for a large range of phenotypes all at once. If you get a strong foundation in some of these quantitative areas like computer science, statistics, math, applied math, I mean, that can give you a foundation to then move into a lot of different scientific areas. And then like, if you know specifically you would want to do like applied to biology, then it's good to have work in that domain you're interested in. And then also to get involved in research opportunities sooner. I mean, at UCLA, we have a summer program called Bruins in Genomics, where we bring in undergraduates from all over the country during the summer for a research opportunity. In terms of resources in general, there's a lot of movement to things being like videos, especially, I mean, during the pandemic, there was a lot of like seminars and course material too that have been put online. So there's a lot of educational material, both at the introductory level, and then if you want to sort of experience sort of the actual state-of-the-art knowledge through the research seminars, those videos are often accessible online. And then in terms of reading materials, I mean, textbooks can often give you a good overview of some area, but they can tend to be out of date for fast-moving fields. So then often, like if you look at review papers or primary research articles, you can get like the state of the art of what's going on in the field. It's like the intellectual challenges to sort of think about the problems I find intellectually stimulating, and then also seeing the impact that can have to important societal problems is rewarding, I find, about looking and stuff.